say, hey, we can train our AI negotiator on your data, and then we can deploy it and run this AI negotiator on your behalf.
It becomes a little bit different, right? It can go from hostage situations, and you're like, all right, let's play kind of Police Academy 101, or hiring someone or firing someone or whatever it is, right?
They're bringing the next level of training, which I think is time consuming, and it will take longer to build an application running on this, but at the end can be really good.
Welcome everyone, it's episode 5, and today we're going to talk about the AI domains. So the domain name today is ainegotiator.io, and this was provided to us by Krista Gable from Twitter. So that's what we're going to talk about.
Hey, thanks, Chris.
Thanks very much. Yeah. Sounds an interesting one. So let's see what we can get out of negotiation.
ainegotiator.com. So let's see. Who's going to go first?
I think we should negotiate.
Yeah, let's go to AI Negotiator. All right, so I'll go first. I think it's very, it makes sense. It's a nice name, right? It tells you right away what could be hosted behind it, right? AI Negotiator. Mm-hmm. One thing when I heard that name first, the first thing that came to my mind was there's an existing service called donotpay.com. So the idea behind donotpay.com is, I think, I've never used it, right? But they're saying, so Do Not Pay uses
money.
It says money, right? Their website says that they use artificial intelligence to help you fight big corporations, protect your privacy, find hidden money, and beat bureaucracy, right? So the idea is, I'm assuming you don't want you want to get a lower price on your internet service or whatever, and you go there, and then they do the negotiation for you. And they use AI for it, right? So AI Negotiator seems a proper name for it, but it's generic, right? It's a generic name.
Yeah. First thing I thought was on Saul Goodman from Breaking Bad, the lawyer.
Oh,
yeah.
Having the AI assistance of this guy. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah, like the first thing that for me it goes, I said this Do Not Pay thing, right? But then if you think about it more, you could make it like, hey, I'm running the service where I can negotiate things for you. But I would take it like a level higher and actually like create these AI negotiators for different scenarios and use cases, and then basically sell that to enterprises, right? Don't sell it to the end user, right? Don't sell it to me, but basically go to the enterprises and say, hey, you're dealing with a lot of customer feedback or customer support, right? Or basically customer support is a negotiation in some sort, right? In a way, you can think of it that way. And then you would say, hey, we can train our AI negotiator on your data, and then we can deploy it and run this AI negotiator on your behalf for you, right?
Okay, so we have an online platform using advanced artificial intelligence, blah, blah, to assist companies in negotiating better deals, contracts, agreements with their third-party contractors, for example?
Yeah. That's, or like those companies could theoretically use it to negotiate with another companies. They could use it to negotiate with end users, right? Like their customers. So it seems like there's two. One interesting thing that you will run into is, what if you have two AI negotiators negotiating against each other? Which, I mean, it's a real possibility, right?
That's interesting. So would you suggest...
Presumably you're going to get the best, like genuinely the optimal outcome for both, right? Because they'll both try and get to the same like win-win / lose-lose argument.
Yes. Yeah. You'll get the most optimal solution, hopefully. I don't know. But it would depend on the data, right?
Yeah, probably.
And I don't know, how would you what data would you feed it? I mean, you would definitely feed the data in about your like the context of the negotiation, I guess, right? But then also I could see there could be a like a slider that you could
The
use to
aggressiveness
define
level.
like be very aggressive or be less aggressive, or here's the minimum that we want to get, like don't go below this. Here are the concessions that you can make. Here are the bonuses and things that you can add in to make the deal better, I guess, right?
It depends on how you train your algorithm. But I was thinking, if we go down to the end user, let's leave enterprise on one side. What about if you provide services on individual trying to improve their negotiation skills? So when I want to change my internet provider, if I want to change my electrical company, teach them on this is the strategy where you can get a better deal if you go down this path.
Oh, so it's not. I think that's a good idea because you're basically. It would be easier to implement because you don't have to implement the negotiation with another agent. What you're basically doing is you can do like a role play,
Yeah.
right? Like I can go in and say, "Hey, I want to get a lower price on my internet, whatever it is. Teach me or role play. You be the bad company, and I'm gonna play the person, right, trying to get a better deal. And then once we're done, tell me what I could have done better or differently
Yes.
that could lead to a different outcome."
And
Do you know what
also
that sounds
this,
like? A really good game.
well, it gives you an extension. So I was thinking even the next business that is a mediation service, how you can resolve disputes between the companies. So you're building like two services in a single shot.
But so I meant it, right? I think this sounds like a really good game. Like you could genuinely start a mobile app, a game, something where the whole objective is for you to negotiate successful outcomes, right? And it becomes much more of and you can leverage that for training as well. So it's kind of a
Yeah.
two-way street, right? Because you're kind of going, hey, there's more, like this is how other people do it, and so on and so on. But because we're focusing on like, okay, let's create this business in a like classical quote unquote sense of the word, right? But what's wrong with some playing, right? Why not focus on, let's say, creating a game, and you monetize through ads, you monetize by maybe selling this data or anything like that. But yeah, it's still the outcome's still the same, right? You have to negotiate out certain situations, but those can be, because it's a game, it becomes a little bit different, right? It can go from hostage situations, and you're like, all right, let's play kind of police academy 101, or hiring someone or firing someone or whatever it is, right? But you can get different sort of outcomes and train those.
I like the game angle as well. What I was thinking when you were talking about it is the more games that there are played, the better the algorithm can technically be, right? Because it knows all the it learns, right? It basically learns from it.
Yeah.
And then on the back end, you could be selling that algorithm, right? Like I'm always more in favor of like enterprise deals and enterprise businesses. It feels like you can make
Enterprise
way more
monetize,
money
right?
than selling to end users. But it could be like a game definitely would work. I mean, there are games that earn a lot of money, right?
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of things that you can do there. And the interesting, you know what you could do for like a premium tier if you want to sell it as a game? You could do like throughout history, there's been probably well-known negotiations in different like settings, right? What if you could make those into a game and say, "Oh, you're playing a role of this person from this historical event, and you're trying to negotiate this deal, business, politics, like different categories, whatever it is, right?" That would make it more interesting, right? Because then it could be, I'm like, this is in a historical context or whatever. It adds more value than just, I'm negotiating a better phone deal or whatever. Those are more like applicable in real world versus the historical ones or whatever are more applicable for gaming, I guess, or more interesting for gaming, I think.
Well, you can introduce an AI auction system, no? So you can go into auctions also in the play role to see
Mm.
how good you are. And that can apply to many, many fields.
Yeah.
What about something completely out of so total different angle, right? And it's negotiation between, for a loose definition of negotiation here, between different formats or different engines of AI, right? So let's say you want to it's more of an API in itself, and you're saying, hey, I need to use some AI, right? And in general, as a society, we have a problem where we keep saying, this is AI, this is AI, I'm using AI. No, you don't say my car has a car. Your car has a feature, right? Whatever that feature is, like anti-lock brakes or something. And AI has multiple different things. So what I'm trying to say is, you're building an application and you want to use something within AI, right? Whether it's large language models or something completely different, but you don't necessarily know. And right now you have a myriad of options of where you want to go. So if you went to something like AInegotiator.com, you could just say, hey, I need to use AI. I want to do this. You pick and do whatever, right? So it's sort of, like I said, loose definition of negotiation, but it's kind of a interface between that.
So you're thinking like an entry point that would guide you through different like AI models or different scenarios, or
Yeah, I would go so far as to say it's a genuine API that I could use from an application, right? And it would be fairly generic, and it would quote unquote negotiate with various AI engines underneath, to give you the response that you need.
that's very abstract for me.
It is, but
So it's like AI
we can make it
negotiating,
work.
like an API that I could call as an end user, developer, whatever, right? That would automatically then negotiate with other AIs on something.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I
like,
would.
can you do this for me, right? And it would say yes or no.
So it's like almost like an agent type of thing where I would say, I want to
Yeah.
book a flight to wherever, and I would post that to an AI API, and that AI API would be smart enough to know that it needs to talk to the hotel AI, that it needs to talk to like flight. Is that what you meant? And then
Yeah, I
basically
mean, that's a good way to
intelligently
make it more.
gather the information. It's not like AI to solve all the problems. It's an AI that actually knows who to delegate the
The
actual problem or
delegation
sub
sounds like the right
problem,
thing.
right?
Yeah.
So we can get our own assistant. I pull my calendar to them, and he knows I'm traveling. I need to book a taxi to the airport, the flights, hotel. Even though if I go to the office in a weekly basis, just on Wednesday, for example, get this assistant to automatically book everything for you.
Well,
So
now we're in Siri, Alexa, Cortana territory, right?
Yeah, but in that case, those were the only. Granted, if you think about them as black box, those were the only. They didn't reach out to different like AI engines or models or APIs to get the work done, right? Like if I tell Siri book a, I don't know, put a meeting on my calendar, it's going to be Siri going to my calendar and putting that thing in, right? But what, if I understand correctly, what you were saying is, instead of doing that, Siri would be smart enough to know that this task that you're asking her to do is made out of like 5 different subtasks, and
yes,
it would intelligently know what agent or AI model,
Yeah.
I guess, is the best to solve that. It's almost like you would have an orchestrator. In
Yeah.
this case, Siri would be an orchestrator to delegate these things over n different APIs and then gather the information back and present it to you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
but a
That
very
will-
clean and easy interface. I would be against the API, for example, because that pulls just into a developer perspective. If you want this to really ramp up as a business, you need to make a front end application where
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think
it's
API in the end is just like it would be a website where you type in what you want or you say what you want, and then it
like
goes
define your
in, right?
profile. You know that I like to drive with this rent car. I like to go to this hotel because of the points. You have the profile set up. It has your calendar. It automatically books everything for you.
Yeah.
Even though, let's think of, I'm having like 2, 3 meetings in a row. Why doesn't the negotiator automatically check my calendar and book breaks so I don't get
Mm.
overstressed, so I can have a better performance? Oh no, now it's time for, you call it Pomodoro? Now it's time
Oh,
for
yeah,
your
yeah,
20
yeah, yeah,
minute
yeah,
task. So I guess that you can expand that to a
yeah,
day-to-day operation that can
yeah,
really improve your quality. If I don't have to ask anybody and it comes and say, gee, your flight departs at the time you always like, 11 a.m., no stops,
yeah,
direct
yeah, yeah,
flight. This is your favorite hotel with the swimming pool on midnight, your
yeah, yeah,
martini.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so it's not so much it's not so much in a way I mean it is a negotiator in a way, but it's more of I can see it as an orchestrator, right? Where I go in, I say connect all of my stuff to it, and connect all of my stuff. If we talk about travel specifically, right? Here's my frequent flyer number. This is what I prefer. Like this is the uh, uh, seat that I prefer. This is the hotel that I prefer. These are the drinks, whatever it is, right? If we're talking about travel only, right? And then this orchestrator would know to talk to different endpoints, I guess, to get this done. Instead of that orchestrator knowing about everything, you don't want to have. At least I think that you don't want to have a Oracle, an all-knowing entity that knows how to do everything. It might be cheaper for you to know how to orchestrate things well across multiple smaller, or not even smaller, but task-oriented APIs/AIs, right? If someone's good at travel, I'm going to go there. I'm not going to teach my own model or whatever, train my own model for
Yeah.
travel specific things. Why would I do that, right? If I know that one does it the best, right?
But think in the ecosystem. So you will negotiate with this brand of hotels, and it will look if there's a local brewery, which I love drinking beers close to, and can negotiate. It's like, oh, drop 15% discount on the room,
Oh,
but
yeah,
you
yeah,
know
yeah.
he's going to drink 3 liters of beers every single day. So you can get into an ecosystem where you negotiate and connect multiple business together.
Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. So basically, so the AIs would negotiate with each other to deliver what's best for you,
Mhm.
right? Like, we're gonna book this hotel, but only if we also get that.
Yes.
Now imagine having the negotiator do that for you instead of I would never do that personally, right? I would never do that. Like I wouldn't go to a hotel and say, "Hey, I'm going to book here, but only if you give me a $50 gift card to that restaurant that's across the street." I'm not going to
Yeah,
do
but
that. However, your AI could go and do that for you technically, right? Like I personally wouldn't do that because it's just too much of a hassle, right?
what's the probability of repeating if your experience on that week is excellent? So if you excel in that whole week of the hotel, the beers, the sites, city sightseeing, whatever, it's more probable that you will repeat on the
Yes.
same.
Yeah, for sure. It's a win for the service providers, right?
Mhm.
In the end, in the like grand scheme of things, right? If they provide you a good experience, yeah, there's a higher probability you're going to come back and repeat the same thing. But what I'm trying to say is, I personally would not ever go and negotiate things like that,
Yeah.
which is kind of where this AI negotiator could help, right?
How
Basically, could
many?
help you get things that you never either wanted or knew that were possible, I guess, or you would never thought of like negotiating for that in any
Just
way, right?
just think in the moment you reach to the hotel and in reception they tell, "Oh, we just upgrade you for free. We had this room." Don't you get a huge smile in your face?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. But I'm saying like upgrades are a bit different, right? Because I don't know. Sometimes even when I go to a hotel, I'm like, I don't want to even ask for an upgrade, because it's typically like majority of the cases it's no, right? But if someone would like do that for me beforehand, well, sure, why not? Let's do it, right? Or if someone would make it in such a way that uh, I could also get something else that I never thought of getting anyway as a
Mhm.
like a package deal, uh, that would be great as well.
Yeah, I never asked for upgrades, but it happened that they had our profile, the corporate one, and also the number of points of how we were traveling,
Yeah.
and they automatically do that for you. So you feel more loyal to that brand. So if
Yes.
you have
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
artificial intelligence to do this behind the scenes and provide the best planning or schedule,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah. I like the idea of like grouping these like your different likes and wants and whatnot, right?
Mhm.
Grouping like having an AI know about all those things and then using those in a context of the negotiation for your hotel room or something, or a flight. I don't know how much you can negotiate flights. Probably not much, right? But maybe
well, don't you
negotiate flights across all the like different providers, right? Different airlines.
think on Sky Scanner? It compares many companies for the same flight that you're looking for.
So how
Yes.
about this?
Yeah.
That's a question, right? We're kind of focusing on travel, flights, and hotels.
That was the easiest
Nego-
one to talk about.
well, you say that, right? But my argument was going to be it's actually the hardest because and sarcasm duly noted. But if you want to negotiate an upgrade, right, you're likely going to have the most success by calling one way or another, or showing up and saying, "Yeah, could you get me an upgrade?" Like charm them with your blue eyes or whatever. Um, what if we think about we kept like Pomodoro technique came up, calendars came up, right? If I think of my like work day, the best value I can get isn't a room upgrade. It's someone negotiating my calendar on my behalf, right? I think Microsoft tried to do this with Cortana Scheduler way before like proper large language models and everything else was done right. Um, but think of it this way, right? I can point it to my calendar and I can say, hey, I really need some time to do this, and I need 3 hours to finish an exercise or finish some training or finish something, and it'll go through your calendar and it'll try and negotiate meetings for you with people, right? Emailing them going, hey, could we move this for, I don't know, 20 minutes, or could we do this, and trying to get you a block out of there. And it just, it empowers you to take back control of your time by saying what gives you value. I need an hour. Great, let's get me an hour in my calendar.
Yeah. So basically, an
Oh,
agent that like talk. You go and say, "Hey, I need an hour to finish something." Go and negotiate, like
Yeah,
reschedule, do whatever you need to do to get me that 1 hour.
within the next week or within this week, like I need an hour. Find me the hour, right?
Are you really that busy? I know
Um,
people are busy, but
people
uh,
are.
I mean, why
It
wouldn't like the other point is why don't you just go in and block an hour out of your calendar ahead? You know?
well, I think that changes, and this might be weird, right? But I think that changes if when you go from individual contributor to a manager role. When you're an IC, I feel you are much more in control of your calendar, right? When you're a manager, usually if you're good, you'll want your directs, your peers to be able to schedule things with you, right? Anyway, obviously different management philosophies and all that, and you still have like what I did was I scheduled blocks of time where I said, hey, you can reach out to me then and so on. But still, things will show up in your calendar. My calendar was insanely busy. Not saying that's right. I'm just saying that seems to be reality in the corporate IT world, right? And I think the higher you are in terms of leveling, the more frequent something like this is. And then the
yes.
more value you get from someone being able to renegotiate meetings. And maybe it's even like recurring meetings. Say, hey, I really don't want to do this on a Wednesday evening. Can we try and figure out a better time for it? And it tries to negotiate. But because of what I just said, right, it's different value. Like, it's a much higher value because you're at a higher level, which means your time is worth more to you. You're also willing to pay more for a service that does something like this.
Yeah,
so you don't need this to be appealing to everyone, right?
Yeah. It's almost like having a personal assistant, but in an AI version of it. I'm not. My thinking is this? I would need an hour now, right now, go and negotiate, or are you planning? Like, here's my problem with it, right? If I know I'm gonna need an hour on Friday, I'm not gonna schedule stuff on Friday. Hence I don't need anyone to negotiate anything for me. I would just block it out, right? But if this is I'm in a zone and I have a meeting in 5 minutes type of thing, then I can see the value in it. I just don't see the value. The longer you do this up ahead, the less value I necessarily see in this. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
it's somewhere in between these, I think, right? Because usually when you're like, you get in the zone and you have a meeting in 5 minutes, it's too late for anybody to negotiate, right? It's just
either you cancel a meeting or you're late.
Yeah,
right?
You're already in douchebag territory, right? Canceling in the last minute. It's somewhere between like today and tomorrow, I think, for me, where it's like, all right, I really need to get this done. Something came up. I need to clear my time for the next 2 hours or for the next 2 days even. But again, it gets to, maybe an emergency thing came up at home and I just need to clear my schedule and have it done right. But I don't have a personal assistant for whatever reason, or they're not doing this. I don't know. It was a thought, right? It was a thought. It's a negotiation.
Like in this case, would make more sense, I think. And I'm also thinking what it could do is it could, like, assuming it runs for a while and has all the information about your calendar, yours and other people's participation in those meetings, I could see it also suggest things like, oh, this meeting on Wednesday afternoons, it's scheduled for an hour, but it's typically only 15 minutes and there's only 3 people in it. Does it make sense to have it? And then that thing goes and negotiates with other AI negotiators and saying, hey, based on my schedule, based on my person's schedule, this is what I think. And then everyone, and then they come to the consensus and say, okay, we're going to make this a 20-minute meeting on Thursdays or whatever, right? So it's not necessarily just give me 2 hours, but it's also optimize, right? Optimize all the meetings that I have in terms of, does it make sense to have a meeting? Like, if there's a person who's constantly invited at a meeting, but they never show up, just remove them, right? Like, who cares?
This is awesome. This I can kind of go back and think, I wish my manager had this. I wish I had this, right? Because a lot of those meetings are in fact redundant, or they become redundant and they become, right? Just as you look through the summary, it's like, okay, well, maybe we don't have to have it, or maybe like people get disengaged and so on. So, no, this, I could get behind something like this.
And now, once you negotiate, because you need to do something for the next 2-3 hours, during that period of time, you keep getting emails, voice message, whatever. Would it be great that the negotiator gives you a summary of all the things that happen over those 2 hours, so it can prioritize or decide for you which are the next actions you can take?
And even decide whether it's going to show you something or not. You know, because it might deem it not useful, or it might know that, oh, you're working on this specific thing, and there's an email that came out that might affect whatever you're working on now, and it would show you that information right there. So it's not necessarily just blocking everything out. It's almost like, if it makes sense to show it now, show it. If it doesn't, maybe don't show it at all, right?
Yeah, it's like you're in this meeting, right? This is the context, and then you're getting notifications here about something very related to this. I'm going to pop this thing up right now and say, maybe this will affect your thing.
Yeah.
But that can be a problem. Imagine you arrive home and your wife says, "Where's the kid?" You didn't pick it from the school. Oh shit, I forgot. I didn't see any notification. Just because the negotiator didn't consider that a
Yeah,
priority
yeah, yeah,
in your
yeah, yeah,
work.
yeah. Yeah, I mean that's a whole nother set of problems that assuming people have common sense like that, that you're not gonna forget that. And we're only talking about like business domain of this, but no, I could
Well,
definitely make sense. Like not just negotiating, but also like tracking my time and work that I do in a way to optimize the calendars, or at least the calendar aspect of the
mhm,
person, right?
yeah. But would users be skeptical of relying solely on AI for negotiating your life?
I think it would be you need like a slow on ramp, meaning you would do the way that I would do this is I would start with, hey, we found this, right? This is what we want to do. Are you okay with this or not? So prompt me, for the
Mhm.
first N things that should have been automated, prompt me first, ask me
Yeah.
if that's what, but that's how it would learn, I guess. Um,
So you're coming
I
down
wouldn't
to.
trust it 100%. I wouldn't trust
Mhm.
from the time I install it. I wouldn't trust it 100%. Not even if I would do it for travel. Like I don't want to give you my credit card number and then you just go and book whatever. You know what I mean? Like I would want to check those things first before I say yes, go and do it. But then
No,
after
but
a
that's a,
while, it would be automated, right? It wouldn't have to ask me anymore.
yeah. So you're doing behavioral patterns with applications, so it gets to know you, and you can always have the last decision. Just click approve or deny based on the
Yeah,
trip report that it's generating for you. But it
yeah,
saves you time because it did all the job of looking after the whole thing on
yes,
the schedule.
yeah, yeah, and even like the negotiation thing for the meetings, right? Let's say
Mhm.
there's a recurring meeting, whatever, and the agents are negotiating, right? Maybe they do have to show you hey, this is what was negotiated. Here are the three options that like came into the uh, uh, three options that you can pick from, basically, and then you make a decision as an end user. You make a decision what you want, right? But all of them theoretically work fine for you, right? Otherwise, if they don't, like all the decisions have to work for everyone involved. However, some of the decisions might work better for one person and then worse for another, right? Like like time zones. Time zones is a typical thing that you have to compromise, right? It's either I wake up at 6 in the morning or someone else has to stay up late at 7 p.m. or 8 or 9 or 10 or
Yeah,
whatever it
and
is,
most
right?
teams solve this by saying, 1 week we're going to do this, and with the other team, the US team's going to do this, and the other week the Asian team's going to do this, right? And again, this is an important part of a model to understand. This is the preference, right? This week you're going to do this. Next week you're not. So maybe you want to switch things around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but think if, for example, I one step back and we were talking about flights, no? Uh, and it takes the cheapest one, direct flight, 7 hours, but you have the same one that paying $100 additional, you get twice the points in your
Mm.
loyalty program. How does it decide which one? Because it will usually take, same time, cheaper. This is the option. No?
Yeah, it has to know, like it's somehow you have to tell it like what works best for you, I guess, or what you value more. I don't know. Like
But
you know what, the example that came up this weekend, we were driving and like I know my way around here, of course, right? But then I was like, let me put in like the address and see where the GPS, like it was Apple Maps, right? Where it's gonna take us. And surprisingly, it took us, well, I didn't take that route, right? But it wanted to take us around. It was, I mean, we would end up at the same destination, but that the route it suggested was 1.5 miles longer, but we would get there 1 minute sooner than we would if we would take the route that was shorter. So it goes to the whole, like, do you value those double points more, or do you value, those $100? So you have to figure out somehow, and then might be an option of showing it to person and say, hey, these are the two things. Which ones do you want? Because sometimes you value $100 more than those points, I guess. I don't know.
But then we get into economical behavioral patterns. You don't have the same mood at 9 a.m. before having a cup of tea than at 12 p.m. or after a couple of beers, no? So the AI negotiator really needs to embed and match all the biases you have to find the right message at the right time based on your daily activity. So now we're bringing the next level of training, which I think is time consuming, and it will take longer to build an application running on this. But at the end, can be really good. If you know how I feel at 9 a.m., 2 p.m., and adjust the schedule and my priorities based on.
Yeah.
So now you need to implement a sentiment analysis also.
Yeah. So, in addition, I want to mention another domain name that's very similar to like this. So we have ainegotiator.io, but there's also, so Krista has a domain called negotiation. So it's like negotiation, but there's AI in the middle. I don't know how I would pronounce it. Negotiation. Something. Anyway, there's AI in the name, right? It goes it's almost like a misspelling of negotiation, right?
It
would be
more
hard.
Like ideation. No, it comes more on how you build ideas.
By the way, I think she has that domain as well. Ideation somehow, yeah, but but anyway, wow. It's in a similar, like, same area. So how would you do like an MVP or a proof of concept for this one? What would be the first thing? How could you do it? What would you do?
Sorry, for which one now?
AI negotiator. It's the same thing in the end, right?
Well, platform, mobile app.
Did we decide on one of the ideas to do the MVP? Because like the game one's super simple, right?
I would go with the game one as well, because it does sound the easiest one to like get started in a way. And it's very simple as well. You don't need there's no heavy graphics. If you think about it, you can go overboard if you want to, but
you don't have to. Although, now that I'm thinking, right? Sorry, this is going to be a weird one, but can you do, if we gamify the calendar thing, right? You don't necessarily have to put the same names, and you have to be careful about stuff, but can you imagine training, putting this to people and training your personal assistants, if you will, right? Where they're try and rejiggle the calendar to achieve optimal performance, and it's basically a game.
Oh, so it's like, before I go to bed, I want to play a game, and then I'm gonna take the AI negotiator game, and it's gonna be based off of my real world calendar.
Not necessarily yours, right?
I mean, it can be changed names, whatever, but the somehow whatever inputs I give in that game would reflect themselves in the real world.
It would
in
train
my real calendar, you would train
the yeah. But it's like, the satisfying feeling of, but then again, I feel like if we do this, right, the best game you can probably come up with, hands down, is just creating a full calendar and just having you cancel all meetings just one by one, right?
Yeah, that would be a bonus round.
Right? Yeah.
Just go in.
And Fruit Ninja, where you go and you can just
slice the
cancel
meeting.
all the meetings.
Or how fast you can drag and drop into the bin, no?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, personally, having a game based off a calendar, I don't know. I don't know if I would it doesn't sound very appealing to me to, hey, you're gonna move stuff around in your calendar. Versus, hey, you're gonna do a playthrough of a real world negotiation that happened at some point, right? And you have all the historical context behind it, maybe, right? But in the end, you're training the same thing. You could train the same thing on the back end.
No.
Right?
I mean, let's be honest, right? The from a playability perspective, you want to do real world conflicts. Yes. It's much more interesting from that perspective.
Yeah.
the thing with the meetings, it's more like a fun thing right underneath.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Um,
it all depends what your definition of fun is.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Some people like calendars, other people don't.
Yeah, but it's how you can merge all the calendars, the ones you have in different accounts, your personal life
Yeah,
with your
Oh yeah.
business one, and how you build that online platform with all the services. So we were talking about
yeah,
front end, API gateways, serverless to just
yeah,
trigger and check. Uh,
I'm yet to see a really good unified calendar. It just it's not. Everybody thinks this is going to be easy. We can do this. Every single person thinks they can do that, right? And then it's like, but
yeah,
you're
yeah. It's
forgetting this part, or you're forgetting
yeah,
that part, or whatever, right? Shared calendars are probably the worst part for me.
yeah,
Like I need to see, like I needed to always see my manager's calendar overlaid, or at least availability, right? When I'm planning meetings for work context, when I'm planning meetings for home context, I need to see a whole different thing overlaid.
yeah, yeah. It's a different view. Yeah,
Yeah. Sorry, I digress.
maybe you can use kind of chatbots or something for natural language processing that it can comprehend what you're looking for, and it gets the context of it's a private thing,
hmm
personal, so you build the decision
yeah,
workflow.
yeah. It needs to know what the context is, right?
So it's like it's think of like when you jump into your car and you have different profiles based on who is driving the car. So here will
Yeah,
be something the same. I'm speaking with the chatbot and it knows that it's a personal thing. I'm going to the gym or need to go to the supermarket. So it starts scheduling and booking. If it's a job thing, it knows that the preferences are quite different.
yeah. But
And
I
you
think
just need to train it. Huh?
yeah, but in the end, it feels like the engine right behind it is this skill of negotiation, right? Whatever context it is, right? It's the skill of negotiation. It has some inputs, it has some outputs, it has some context, it has some desired outputs, I guess, non-desired, more, less desired, right? So what I'm trying to say is even if you do a game that's not based on a calendar, that's based on like a negotiator game on like negotiate these political negotiations, whatever it is, right? It doesn't really matter, right? But it's more of a appealing type of negotiation. What you train behind the scenes could be used for negotiating your calendar in the end, perhaps, right? Because you can see
Sure.
like this is what we said, this is what was answered, this is the compromise that we came to, like all these like data points would be extracted out, and it can guide your Uber negotiation model, I guess, right? And then you can use that and apply it to different situations and scenarios, right?
You know what? For a brief moment, it's resonate on my head something like Among Us. Easy game, three people. Who is the impostor? Same with your calendars. No, it's like how you fit the whole thing, which is the best area. And I was
Yeah.
looking on the stats of the game in the last 30 days, 57 million active player,
Oh wow.
which is not a bad thing. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I've never played. I think I know what the game is, but I've never. I think I installed it once and tried, and I was like,
My kids
I
have
don't
played a
know.
lot on that one, but
But
it
it's
used to have
basically
more.
you're that small thing walking around a thing, and then you're trying to figure out who's the odd man out or something like that. Like who's the
Who is the
imposter.
impostor? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, and then you can like lie and make stuff up and bluff and whatnot. Oh, okay.
Now take your calendars and play the same game. Huh?
Play the same game and negotiate the
Spot
yeah.
the imposter meeting, the one that kills your productivity. You get meetings running around your board game, like your thing. Every meeting has its own like costume. Your manager comes like final level
Yeah.
down. That makes sense.
All right. We're at 40 minutes. Any final ideas?
I
Parting
was thinking,
words?
look, I was thinking of what Anche was talking about playing around. There's a startup company called The Last Game Board, which is a digital board that you can have yours on Seattle, yours on Slovenia, mine in Spain, and we can play with the calendars and drop it and find that imposter one. Huh?
find the like the wrong meeting, or decide on a meeting that should be thrown out.
If you are in the devil phase, would be the one you get fired.
Yeah.
So it's like one of these will kick your ass there.
All right, we're done. Thanks, guys. Thanks to Krista for providing the ideas and names, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Yep.
Cheers.
Wanna hear